Imagine a world shattered by the horrors of World War I, yearning for peace and stability. This was the world that gave birth to the League of Nations, the first international organization dedicated to maintaining global peace and fostering cooperation among nations. Established on January 10, 1920, after the Paris Peace Conference, the League aimed to prevent future conflicts through collective security, disarmament, and negotiation. It was a visionary attempt to unite countries in the pursuit of peace, a monumental shift from the power struggles that had previously dominated international relations. The League of Nations had several key goals: to prevent wars through collective security agreements, to disarm nations, and to resolve international disputes through diplomacy and arbitration. It also addressed various global issues such as improving labor conditions, protecting minority rights, combating human trafficking and drug trade, and promoting global health. Despite its noble intentions, the League faced significant challenges. It lacked its own armed forces and relied on major powers to enforce its resolutions. This dependency often led to inaction, especially when these powers had conflicting interests. Additionally, the absence of key nations, most notably the United States, weakened the League's influence and effectiveness. Throughout its existence, the League of Nations had several successes. It managed to resolve disputes between Finland and Sweden over the Åland Islands, between Greece and Bulgaria, and between Iraq and Turkey over the Mosul region. The League also played a crucial role in humanitarian efforts, including aiding refugees and improving global health standards. However, the League's inability to prevent aggression by major powers in the 1930s, such as Japan's invasion of Manchuria, Italy's attack on Ethiopia, and Germany's annexation of Austria and the Sudetenland, highlighted its limitations. These failures underscored the League's lack of enforcement power and the reluctance of member nations to commit to collective security measures. Ultimately, the League of Nations could not prevent the outbreak of World War II. In 1946, it was formally dissolved, and its functions were transferred to the newly established United Nations, which aimed to learn from the League's shortcomings and build a more robust framework for international peace and security. The story of the League of Nations is a testament to the complexities of international diplomacy and the enduring quest for a peaceful world. It laid the groundwork for the United Nations and continues to influence how nations collaborate to address global challenges. $.